dreaming wealth for life. Mahogany strong, yeah, we on our lane. Breaking every chain, never stay the same. It's a new day, yeah, we take control. Build it up, exit down, that's the goal. Yeah.
Hello, everyone, and welcome into the Mahogany Circle, where we don't just talk about wealth, we talk about all things concerning how you get to the point of where you are self-sufficient, right? Like we are endeavoring to do some things differently. So wealth begins with that internal energy, disciplined thinking, emotional alignment, strategic action, and the courage to move with intention. Can I just say that on today's show, we're going to continue to go deep because we're talking about permissionless leverage on today. Now, I know for some people, you're like, oh my goodness, I can't wait to hear this. So, of course, I have my amazing co-host on today, Dr. Dan Young. Welcome in, sir.
Dr. Tabitha, always good to hear you. Always good to see you. And this is obviously one of the areas that's of most importance to entrepreneurs. So looking forward to getting into it today.
Absolutely. The main theme of this episode, we're going to talk about how modern wealth is no longer built only through traditional paths like waiting for promotions, gatekeepers, investors, or institutional approval. Today, wealth can be built through permissionless leverage, and that means media that spreads without asking permission, and code or digital systems that scale value while you sleep. Now, that's my favorite right there, right? That makes this conversation especially powerful for people who want to build wealth through mindset, ownership, consistency, and bold action. So, Dr. Dan, on today, when you hear the quote, code and media are permissionless leverage, what does that mean to you in the context of wealth?
Sure. So most businesses, they're going to deal with a couple different types of leverage, right? We use capital leverage, which means that we use the money to create opportunities. Sometimes we'll use something like community leverage, which means that we do things in our community that provide us with additional power. Sometimes it's labor leverage. So whether that's using volunteers, interns, virtual assistants, part-time assistants, full-time assistants. But some of the most powerful types of leverage are code and media leverage. And to me, obviously, as you talk about, wealth creation's totally changed. This means that the old model of waiting for access is no longer the only model available, right? Before, what happened is you go to work, you hop in your car, you wait for someone to say that, hey, you are valuable enough to be able to invest more money into you. And Dr. Tab, as you know, every business system is based on the fact that every employee, whatever they get paid, their job is actually worth 3 times as much. So if you have a job that pays you $100,000 a year, that company in general values that job at $300,000 a year. This is why whenever you get a job, you need to negotiate for a higher salary, because whatever that job is, you're priced down 3 times, right? And so this was the only way of actually building wealth, was waiting for someone to give you something. And it was through labor, meaning that you're trading time for money, or capital, meaning that already having money, you can make more money. But this quote points to something deeper. It tells us that code and media allow ordinary people to create extraordinary reach without needing the same kind of permission that labor and capital often requires. So that's exactly what Naval described them as, permissionless leverage. And it's a major force behind the newly rich. So in real life, that means your podcast can become an asset. Your message can become an asset. Your newsletter or your course becomes an asset. A digital system that you create is an asset. And most of us know that, what does asset mean? It just simply means that it's something that creates revenue and value. So all of these are different assets. So even the content library you have, if you've been posting anything, you've been posting a sermon, every week for a year, that has actual value. And it keeps educating, attracting, and converting people over time. So what used to require a large team, a publisher, a media company, can now begin with one person who is clear, committed, and willing to create consistently. Just this past week, we had a report of the first billionaire that built their company as a one-person company completely by AI.
Mm-hmm.
And this is
That's right.
something that Sam Altman of OpenAI said would happen. And more, you're going to have billionaires, one company, AI driven. So what excites me is that this does not just shift business, it shifts your identity. It tells people that your voice has economic value, your ideas have market value, your expertise has scalable value, and wealth is no longer only about what you can do with your hands in 1 hour. It's about what you can create once that keeps working again and again. So, Dr. Tab, knowing this, why do you think so many people still struggle to build wealth, even though media tools are really more accessible than ever before?
Ooh, that's a loaded question, right? Like we see this all the time in our ecosystem. A lot of times, how people continue to struggle is because access to tools does not automatically create ownership thinking, right? Many people have access to the internet, social platforms, podcasting tools, and AI assisted creation, but mentally, they're still waiting for permission. They're
Yep.
still operating from a mindset that says, who am I to say this? Who am I to launch this? Who am I to build this? The problem is not always lack of opportunity. Sometimes it is lack of internal expansion, right? This is also the issue in inconsistency. Now, I know that that's a big word, right? But that has a lot of depth to it. And media works when it compounds. So content works when it compounds. Relationships, visibility, wealth often comes from repeated value, not random effort. So if someone shows up 1 week, disappears for 2 months, second guesses every move, and constantly resets, they never stay in the game long enough for the leverage to kick in. And so this is why community matters. Public descriptions of the Mahogany Circle emphasizes support, collaboration, podcasting, and connection. So that matters because sometimes people do not need more inspiration. They need a room that reminds them to stay in motion, right? Stay in the game. And they need examples, they need alignment, and they need to be around conversations that normalize growth, visibility, and using their voice as a tool for impact and expansion. So I know that the more that people lean in, right, the more that they're engaged, the more that they're doing the work, the better off that they are at the end of the day. So Dr. Dan, tell me, how does media become a wealth building tool instead of just entertainment and noise?
Sure. So, we have all been in that position where we saw one interesting thing on Instagram, on Facebook, on TikTok, and we just went down the rabbit hole, right? And so we know that media becomes a wealth building tool when it's one of the most important words in wealth building, which is intentional. A lot of people create content just to be seen, but wealth-minded individuals create content to serve, position, teach, attract, and convert. They understand that media is not just about the attention, it's about trust, it's about reach, it's about repeated value delivery. So, for example, let's say one podcast episode can educate a listener, build credibility, create emotional connection, and introduce them to a larger ecosystem of offers, services, and community. One well-positioned article can lead to speaking opportunities. One consistent video series can turn followers into leads. One message repeated clearly over time can become a brand category. So this is when media stops being disposable and starts becoming leverage, right? I always like to say that if you went to my wife right now and said, hey, when's the last time that Dan said the L word to you? And my wife would say, you mean leverage? He said that about 3 times today. So whenever we're talking about wealth building, we are talking about leverage. And the beauty of media is that it can travel without you. That is the heart of that quote. You create it once and it keeps moving. it keeps introducing you, it keeps teaching, it keeps opening doors. And in that sense, your media becomes part of your digital workforce. We have to think about those things we create as you're not just creating a piece of content, you're creating a soldier that's out there going out every day to battle for your dollars. And it works while you rest, it works while you build, while you're in meetings, and while you're living life. And that is a very different way to think about wealth creation. And it's why media is one of the most powerful equalizers available today. But you have to go into it with intention. So, Dr. Tab, listen, I'm Gen X. I graduated college right before this thing called HTML. I didn't even know what that was. So everyone after me had to take an HTML class. They were doing coding. They're doing all this other stuff. We're talking about code leverage. So for someone who's not a coder, how can they still use this quote to build wealth?
This is really good because this quote is not only for those software developers, even though they're eating this up right now. That is one of the most important things to understand, that if you cannot code, you can still build leverage through media systems and digital assets, right? Naval's broader framework explicitly includes books, podcasts, videos, and online publishing as forms of permissionless leverage, because you can scale without the same traditional gatekeeping that labor and capital require, right? So if you're a speaker, a teacher, a consultant, a coach, a creator, a strategist, or community builder, you can still build wealth with this principle. You can create a podcast that educates your audience. You can create digital resources that solve real problems. Now, that's going to be the key, is going to be those real problems. And you can also build a repeatable email sequence that nurtures leads. And you can also package your expertise into workshops, templates, courses, guides, memberships, or strategic content ecosystems. Now, I will say this, is that we know that it is so much easier than before to create wealth. So the bigger issue is not whether you code, the bigger issue is whether you understand leverage.
Yeah.
Are you creating the things that die the moment you start working, or are you creating things that continue producing value after the effort is complete? That question changes everything, right? Because wealth grows faster when your work stops being trapped inside you, the hours, inside you for endless hours on the day, right? People really don't understand that if they're the sole gatekeeper of the business, when they stop, the business stops. So having these systems in place, an ecosystem behind them, is that leverage that keeps working for you endlessly. So Dr. Dan, what role does mindset play in turning media into money and influence into wealth?
Well, I remember growing up, and when I was really, really, really little, you got, or at least my parents, you got your media from one source, a guy by the name of Walter Cronkite. Like whenever Walter Cronkite said something, that was the news, right? And then, Dr. Tab, when we were growing up, that expanded to a few more people, Peter Jennings, Tom Brokaw, Dan Rather, like all these people became media. Now, because especially when you get above a certain age, your mindset is that is media. That is what legitimacy is. But nowadays, media can be all of us. So our mindset plays a massive role because media can amplify what is already inside you. What used to be one person saying one thing at one time, and that diffuses across the entire country or diffuses across the entire world. Now you have 1 million people saying things, but the power is, what am I saying intentionally that's unique to the people that I'm trying to influence? So if you are unclear, media will amplify that confusion. If you're inconsistent, the media will amplify the inconsistency. But if you're intentional, you're strategic, and you're grounded in service, media will amplify that too. So to build wealth through media, you have to stop seeing your voice as casual. You have to stop treating your ideas as though they're small. You have to stop assuming that because something comes naturally to you, it has no economic value. That type of thinking keeps people under-monetized and under-positioned. Wealth begins when you start respecting your message enough to structure it, repeat it, refine it, and put it in places where it can work for you. You also need the mindset to think long-term. Wealth is not always built from one viral moment, even though we exemplify and glorify those people who are able to do it. Even today, I can go online, see the little dude that was doing Gangnam Style and dancing around, and people think that's how I have to build wealth. Create a Gangnam Style, create like a Honey Boo Boo or create like whatever. But those are anomalies. That does not happen except for 1 in a million times. So more often than not, it becomes an accumulated trust, accumulated visibility, accumulated intellectual property, and accumulated assets. And the wealthy mindset asks, how do I turn what I know into something scalable? How do I make this useful to people again and again? How do I move from effort to equity? That is a different, higher level of thinking, and it's absolutely necessary. And guess what? Every single one of us can do it.
Yeah.
This only is based on the concept that we know somewhere else in the world there's someone who values what we have to say. It doesn't have to be 50 billion people who value what we have to say. It only needs to be a couple thousand people, and you'll never have to market again the rest of your life.
Right.
It's just having a very clear point of view to share that with other people. So from a purely self-serving perspective, Dr. Tapp, how can a podcast like Mahogany Circle become part of a wealth generating strategy?
So, for example, a podcast can become a serious wealth generational vehicle. Now, I want to say that again because I want the people in the back to be able to hear that, because it can become that wealth generational vehicle when it is viewed as more than just a conversation, right? Like we're having a conversation today. However, the information that we're sharing, if people take that and they really listen to it and apply it, they're going to get some real results. So a podcast is media. Media is leverage, and leverage changes the math, right? Public interviews about Mahogany Circle already describe podcasting as one of the ways the organization connects with its community, and it shares resource-based conversations. That means the foundation is already there. So from a wealth strategy standpoint, a podcast can build authority, it deepens the trust, it attracts aligned partners, and it can expand the brand recognition as well as open doors to paid opportunities. So it can also become a pipeline into live events, memberships, digital products, consulting, sponsorships, speaking engagements, and collaborations. Do I need to say more? I mean, really, it can also preserve the value of a brand's voice over time. So every episode becomes an asset in the library. So what matters is intention. So if the podcast is designed to educate the listeners around ownership, mindset, resource asset, entrepreneurship, financial literacy, and action, then each episode becomes both service and positioning. Now, I don't even know if people really understand that a podcast can also be an open door to be able to have a conversation with someone that you may have on your list of people that you think is the who's who, right? It could be an invitation for you to sit down and have a conversation with them with that podcast where you would otherwise not get the opportunity to do so. But also a podcast nourishes the audience while building a larger ecosystem. So this is where wealth starts becoming practical. And then the podcast is not just content, it becomes a bridge between community and commerce, between voice and value, and between conversation and conversion. Like a podcast could really be the driving force behind someone's platform and their ecosystem. So, Dr. Dan, what does taking action look like for someone who wants to use media as leverage, but they feel overwhelmed?
Well, I mean, there's that old parable of, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, right? And so taking action with anything in our world always starts with simplicity, whether it's wealth building, whether it's getting in better shape, whether it's reconnecting with family members. It starts with the first phone call. It starts with getting up in the morning and putting on your sneakers. It starts with just the simple act of setting up an account, setting up social media, contacting a friend to say, will you support me? So this all starts with simplicity, because obviously people get overwhelmed when they imagine they need to build an empire before they've actually built a rhythm, right? We do not need to do everything at once. We need to choose a lane, choose a message, choose a format, and commit to consistency. I always love when I see stuff online, and from my years of teaching in college, you always hear about someone being a boss. Like, I want to be a boss, right? And so, and that's before they understand being a boss means dealing with P&L statements. Being a boss means firing people. Being a boss means staying in on Saturday night. Being a boss means working 12 hours a day minimum, working 6 days a week minimum. So we have this big vision of things. Instead of being a boss, just get up and make your bed and do that every single morning. And that's now right. Get up, make your bed, put on your sneakers, and go for a walk, and do that every single morning. Now we start habit bundling. Now get up, make your bed, put on your sneakers, take a walk, and make one phone call. Start there. Start simply. So action might look like deciding on 3 core topics that you want to be known for. It might look like recording 1 podcast episode per week. It might look like repurposing 1 conversation into short clips, or a blog, or an email, or a lead magnet. It might look like, setting up 1 clear offer connected to the content you already create. So none of this is flashy. It's as basic as getting up, making your bed, putting on your sneakers, going for a walk, and making a phone call. But it's powerful because it creates repeated action. It creates repeated motion. All of us have either or known someone who has started, for example, a weight loss journey. They're working out for an entire month. They're thinking to themselves like, God, like, I've been doing this a month and nothing's happened. And it's just at that moment someone says like, wow, you look really good. What have you been doing? And of course you play off like, oh, nothing. Like, I've been, I had a couple protein shakes or whatever. But it's only after the consistency of doing it, when it seems as though nothing's happened, that something begins to happen. So from a business perspective, the key is to stop treating content like a performance and to start treating it like an infrastructure. Content is not just something you post because an algorithm wants attention. It's part of your business architecture. It teaches, it qualifies, nurtures, and positions. And once you see it that way, the action becomes less emotional and more strategic. You're not just posting, you're building a machine that can keep serving people and opening opportunities over time. So when you start thinking about being overwhelmed, chunk it down to a really, really basic first step. And just focus on that first step the same way you'd focus on making your bed or putting on your sneakers or making 1 phone call. So with our quote we've been talking about today, Dr. Tab, how does this quote challenge all those traditional ideas about what is success and being chosen and all those things that most of us have grown up with as we've started to think about our careers and what we want to accomplish in life?
Yeah, I believe that it challenges the entire culture of waiting, right? Being a business owner is not for the faint of heart, first of all. Like, it's going to challenge you to your core For sure. And it also lets you know who you really are. Like some people are built to be business owners, right? They have a mindset, they got the conditioning. You talked about putting on those sneakers and taking a walk. Some days those business owners are going to put those sneakers on and they need to be running full speed ahead, right? So for a long time, people were taught that success came through selection. Someone had to approve you, someone had to discover you, someone had to hand you a platform, or someone had to say yes before you could move forward. But permissionless leverage, like today, that says something radically different. It says that you can begin building before the institution validates you. You can publish before you are picked, and you can create before you are crowned. And so that does not mean wisdom, quality, and excellent does not matter, because they absolutely do. That's why we went to school. That's why we did higher education, got PhDs. That's why we even went back and taught as professors, because it means that access has widened, right? Even with those credentials behind us, those titles, the way that some people are using permissionless leverage today has really opened people's minds up to really endless possibilities being available. It means a person with skill, discipline, and persistence can build a meaningful platform without standing in line for traditional approval. So, in that in itself is game-changing truth, right? Especially for communities that have historically had to fight harder for visibility, access, and ownership. Can I say that again? Right? Those communities, like we didn't always have permission to do some things, to be out in the front, to really share our knowledge and our wisdom. So this is part of why community-centered platforms matter so much. Mahogany Circle's public story emphasizes collaboration, conversation, and advocacy. So those things are not soft extras. They are part of the infrastructure of modern success. They help people believe bigger, move faster, and stay encouraged long enough to build something that lasts. So, Dr. Dan, I mean, that is powerful to me, because I know that we're able to now do some things that makes a difference, that's going to be able to last for generations here on out. But it starts with, first of all, that mindset to say that we can do this. But permissionless leverage said, okay, let's go. What are we waiting on? What are we really doing? Right? So tell me, what are some mistakes people make when they're trying to build wealth through media?
Well, I think, all of us have kind of learned that there tends to be three levels in success. There are goals, there's strategy, and there's tactics, right? So many times we've been conditioned because we had to ask for permission, and because we thought we had to fit within a traditional system, that the goals are the most important thing, right? Lose 20 pounds, make $100,000, get closer to kids and family. Like, those are goals. But sometimes we forget that the goals are the byproduct of the strategy. Let me repeat that. The goal is the byproduct of the strategy and the tactics. In order to lose the 20 pounds, I have to have a strategy, which then has a tactic, like getting up, putting on my sneakers, and walking. So really what I need to focus on is the strategy, because that leads to the tactics. So the one mistake is creating without strategy. People will post consistently, but never ask what the content is actually supposed to do. They just know they're trying to post. And granted, that's a great first step. But after a while, you'll be able to see whether the posting is yielding something. And now we need to take a look at the strategy. One of those basic things that we talk about in Mahogany Circle is that when we're doing our wealth plan and we're preparing, you create a goal, and no matter what's going on, you never change the goal. You only change the strategy. So if your goal is to make $1 million a year and you're halfway through the year and you've made $15, you're going to feel this need to say like, yeah, maybe I'm not a millionaire. Maybe that's not who I am. Maybe that's not what I do. What I would say to you is it's not time to change the goal. It's time to actually change the strategy. So for example, when I'm posting content, I need to ask myself, is it meant to attract? Is it meant to educate? Is it meant to nurture? Is it meant to convert, build trust, open partnerships? Without that clarity, the media just becomes noise, just like everyone else, instead of some sort of leverage. So we need to be very cognizant of what is the strategy, and that strategy tells us what tactics we need to make, right? So if we're posting kind of like willy-nilly and we've made $15 instead of $500,000 by the end of the year, maybe I need to ask myself, what is the messaging saying? And am I posting on the right platform? And am I leveraging it the right way? So those are important. Another mistake that we make is by being too broad. People want to talk about everything, and then they wonder why no one remembers them for anything. So wealth grows faster when your message is clear and you have your own lane. This clarity creates memorability, and memorability creates the demand. I think most of us can think of something in our life where we originally logged into it for one reason, and then all of a sudden everyone was in there. And we can also think about things that other people logged into, and we thought to ourselves, that's not for me. But then at some point in time, all those people who are super committed to it pull us in because we really had a message that resonated with somebody, and all those somebodies loved it so much it pulled everyone else in. So don't be too broad. Make sure that your target marketing. Another mistake is inconsistency that's driven by emotion. People create when they feel inspired, and they disappear when they feel doubtful. But leverage loves systems. The newly rich are often not just the most talented, but they're the most structured. They create assets, archives, pathways, and repeatable engines. They understand that one great idea is helpful, but a great system is transformative. Let me repeat that for you. A great idea is helpful. A great system is what transforms you. And finally, many people fail to connect media to monetization. In many years of being a college professor, a marketing professor, we used to do these studies all the time. And I remember at some point in time, there's a crossover point where we would ask students, would you rather be rich or would you rather be famous? Mm-hmm. And if you look at probably the last 20 years of data, more college students would rather be famous than be rich.
Right. Right.
And so what happens is people just post so that they're interesting, they're well known, they're looking good, they're doing whatever, but they completely forget about the fact that, hey, maybe I should try to monetize this. So they'll post, they'll talk, they'll inspire, they'll educate, but they never build the bridge to an offer or a product or a service or a membership or a next step. So wealth comes when value is both shared and structured. Generosity is a beautiful thing, but sustainable wealth requires some sort of an architecture. So, Dr. Tab, I think we've shared a couple different nuggets here, probably enough nuggets to build a lot of coins in Fort Knox. So we hope people can use these. So, what final word would you leave with the Mahogany Circle audience about code, media, and building wealth now?
So I would say this, do not underestimate the era that you're living in. And I alluded to that throughout the podcast, right? You are alive in a time where your ideas can travel faster, further, and more affordably than ever before. I don't think people understand that most of these social media platforms is free, right? $0.99. Right? So you are alive in a time when your voice can become an asset, your wisdom can become a product, and your platform can become the pipeline, and your consistency can become a form of wealth, literally. But none of that matters if you stay mentally stuck in those old permission patterns, right? You cannot build new wealth with an old belief system. You cannot keep waiting for someone to tell you that your message matters, and you cannot keep shrinking your vision to fit your fear. People don't understand how fear literally paralyzes you. And so this is the time to think like an owner, move like a builder, and create like your work has the power to outlive the hour in which it was made, right? Like they don't really understand, right? So
Yeah.
take the quote seriously. Take this message today really to heart, and know that code and media are permissionless leverage. That means the question is no longer only who is going to let me in? The real question is, what am I building that can work for me, serve others, and create multiplied value over time? Once you answer that, the wealth stops being vague. It becomes a decision that you made, that you stand on, right? I hear people say stand on business, right? It becomes that decision of structure and discipline. And that is when everything begins to shift. Dr. Dan, you know what? Thank you so much for another amazing conversation today, and how we are moving towards helping 100,000 people become millionaires in the next 5 years. And I don't know about you, but it is definitely go time, and I'm here for it.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you, Dr. Tab. Always a good time.
Yes, thank you so much. Until next time, everyone, continue to join in and share this message with your friends and your family that can help them to now get on board and shift. Look, you don't need permission to be great. Just go ahead and get it done. Until next time, we'll look forward to seeing you again. Take care.
Welcome to the Mahogany Circle, where we rise up, make it all come forward. From the ground up, yeah, we build it right, turning knowledge into wealth for life. Mahogany strong, yeah, we own our lane, breaking every chain, never stay the same. It's a new day, yeah, we take control, build it up, pass it down, that's the goal. Entrepreneur spirit, we running the game, no shortcuts here, we earning the name. Investing smart, let the money grow, multiple streams, watch the cash flow. Dr. Dan with the plan, map it out clear. Dr. Tab with the voice, yeah, you need that here. Game so solid, no room for fear. We talking wealth that lasts for years. Ownership keys, yeah, we unlock doors. Teach you how to build, then build you more. It's bigger than now, it's deeper than fame. It's family warmth, yeah, that's the aim. We don't chase it, we create it. Every move is elevated. From the vision to the strategy, this is legacy, reality.